Lindsay. How are you?
I'm fantastic, Michelle. How are you? What's going
I'm
on?
good. Yeah, everything is good over here. Lindsay, are there any foods or drinks that you like now that you didn't used to like?
Oh, for sure, a lot. When I was a kid, I didn't like all the vegetables very much, mushrooms and even like avocados or
Uh-huh.
sushi. I was a little freaked out about it first. Coffee, wine, beer, many, many things actually that I've learned to like. Kale. I mean, what about you? What about you, Michelle? Anything that's grown on you?
I think onions are a big one. I used to pick onions out of things, and now I will ask
Ah,
for extra onion if I want.
interesting. What's
Also red wine. Yeah.
red wine. Okay.
Yeah.
What is that about? Is it that our taste buds get duller so we don't taste the
I don't
extreme, or we
know.
just get more tolerant and less sorta or more adventurous? We see our friends
Right.
having onions. Why do you think it
I
is?
don't know. I've thought about that before. Is it that it actually tastes different at some point? I don't know. It's a yeah, I it's a fun thing to think about actually.
I feel like I've read somewhere, I think technically your taste buds do decline, do become more dull over time, I think. I'm not a doctor, but I feel like I've read that somewhere, but maybe it's a combination of all of those things. Who knows? Anyways.
Maybe. But yeah, I used to never drink red wine and then
Huh.
it was overnight and then I tried it and I thought, "Oh, now I like this." It's the weirdest thing.
Interesting. Very weird. Okay. Well, then today I'm excited. I actually dropped the expression in our conversation very subtly. I'm not sure if our listeners heard it.
Ah.
But we are talking about an expression for our listeners to put in their pocket today when they're
Yeah.
dealing with this situation, a change in taste, right?
Yes. Yes,
Hmm.
yes. So, the expression is, "It grew on me." Something grew on me. So,
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about today. Guys, if you're listening on Spotify, at the end of this episode, we are going to have one of our super fun key polls. If you haven't heard this at the ends of, well, for every episode, actually, we have a poll pretty much. And some of them we announce the results to on a future
Mm-hmm.
episode. So it's a great way for us to interact with you. So listen up. And at the end, we will give you that poll. But let's get into it now. So,
Yes.
Lindsay, do you use this expression? It grew on me.
Yeah, I do. I definitely do. I think it's good. I think it's useful to show that you didn't like something at first. And
Yeah,
then for some reason, because it's true not just with food, it can be true with people, actually,
right.
right? He
Yeah,
grew on me. I didn't like him at first, but then he grew on me, became my best friend.
right.
It can be true with your apartment, your home, your neighborhood.
Mm,
There's actually so many
yes.
things that this could be used to talk about.
Oh, so many things because our opinions, our feelings about things are always changing. We're not just stagnant in the way we feel about things and we just feel something the first day and then it just never changes. Yeah, that can happen, but I feel like
Yeah,
it's kind of rare.
I agree. I agree. So our listeners are going to love this today. All right.
Yeah.
So where do we start
So,
then? Yeah.
yeah, so this again, it doesn't mean something is literally growing on you. It means to say it grew on me, it means that you didn't like something and then for some reason you started to like it. So from food to people to places, all sorts of things. And guys, just one more thing before we move on. If you haven't yet listened to episode 2194, we have Play It Cool with these English idioms.
Yeah, and hit the follow button while you're going around our back catalog, guys. Just
Yes.
hit that follow button at the top in Apple Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube. Subscribe wherever you're listening. Just make sure you get all 5 episodes that we do every week. Don't miss a single one, guys. All right.
Yes.
So, Michelle, should we give our listeners some great examples here? Shall we do it?
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right, Lindsay, you're up first.
Okay. At first, I didn't like living in Denver, but it really grew on me.
Is that
Ah.
true, or did you like it
Uh,
right away?
I think I've liked it. I think I like it more for less for the city, more for the mountains. What's around Denver, the lifestyle. Most people will leave Denver on the weekends. It's a city. It's fine. It's good. There's some restaurants, some bars, things, but it's more about the nature that's out there. Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, good. So here is mine. I didn't wanna have a dog, but once I got him, he grew on me. This happens a
Oh.
lot. This
And you had a beagle when you were a
yeah.
kid, right, Michelle? Did you
Yeah.
I guess kids usually fall in love with their dogs right away, generally, but
W Yeah, although I remember when we it was the he was dropped off to officially be ours, and I remember he was in he was running around, barking his head off on the front lawn. I guess he had the zoomies, as you like to call them,
oh,
and I had this feeling of, "Oh, no, did
okay.
we just make a mistake?" Because
How
it
old
was
were you?
this feeling of I was 10.
Okay,
It was this
okay.
feeling of, "Oh, this is our dog now. This is real." This I had one-on-one for so long, and I remember this little feeling of, "Oh my gosh," when we first got him, but then he really grew
Yeah.
on me and I loved him. I mean, he was not a perfect dog. Anyway, that's another story for another day. But, yeah, I think, b also, I've had friends of mine, or I remember I worked with a guy who his kids really wanted a dog and he was so against
Oh.
it, and then
Oh,
he
yeah,
finally
of
got a
course.
dog and now he has 2 and he's
And
the
then
big dog
and then
lover.
he ends
Yeah.
up being the one that the dog is primarily bonded with, right? Of course. Yeah, that's how it
That's my
always
mom.
happens. That's how it
That was
happens.
my mom, and my mom didn't want the dog, and then it
Mhm.
was the greatest love affair, so
Oh, I love that. I love that we're talking about this today. It's very appropriate because on this day that we're recording, April 4th, is Kiefer's gotcha day. It is his gotcha day today. 4 years
Oh!
ago, we got him on April 4th,
Oh my
2020. So just
gosh.
dropping that gotcha day. What does it mean, Michelle? Just real quick as a
Gotcha
bonus?
day is we use that about, definitely dogs. I don't know
Yeah.
about other animals, I'm guessing, but sure,
Yeah.
why not? The day that you got them.
Yes, and I know that feeling. I can, really resonate with what you're saying here, Michelle. You get the dog in the house, you're like, "Oh my gosh, did I make a mistake? Is this the right thing?"
Yes.
But quickly they grow on you. Of course they
Yes.
do. Oh,
Yes,
yes.
absolutely. Oh, well, happy gotcha day to all of you.
Thank you.
Um, so,
Yeah.
all right, let's do one more example.
Okay. So I thought I didn't like tea, but when I moved to the UK, I had it every day and it grew on me. Yeah. Did that happen to you
Mhm.
too when you were living in London?
It's not that I thought I didn't like tea, but I never imagined myself wanting to sit down with a cup of tea at work, and it really
Right.
did happen. I Something
Ooh.
happened while I was there,
You
and
became British. I love it.
I did.
Interesting.
I don't know, that's what I wanted. It's just so
Yeah.
funny how that happens, so,
But
yeah.
think about, right, for our listeners, guys, listen to our conversation. This is fantastic. I feel like we have bonded over our conversation
Right.
with our dogs, adoption days, how we felt
Yeah.
when learning to like tea and coffee. This is the stuff of connection right here. So
Oh,
being
yeah.
able to express that you didn't like something at first and then you did over time, there's so much more than just the phrase that could come up, Michelle.
Definitely. It's so much fun to talk about these things. I feel like both of us, I'm gonna use this word, giddy. I feel like
It's
we're both
fun.
kinda
Yeah.
giddy when
Yeah.
we're, "Oh, and we get so excited and everything kind of speeds up and we're excited to chat." So this is
Yes.
really good stuff to talk about your tastes in this way.
It's really good stuff. All right. So where else, Michelle, should we go for our listeners?
All right. I mean, Lindsay, any other examples of this from your real life that you can think of?
I mean, yeah. So your question about New York in our notes here, I felt the same way a
Yeah.
little bit about New York. I thought to myself, especially when I was pounding the pavement with my roommate
Yeah.
at the time, we were doing trips up from Newark to New York every day to try to get an apartment. And it was
Mhm.
July and it was hard to find an apartment.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, oh, I don't know how I feel about this city. This city is really intense. Can I really make it in New York? Can I do it?
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm. Mhm. But it
But
grew
it
on you.
of course, and I'm so glad I live there. I'm sure you feel the same way, right? Yeah.
Absolutely, but I do remember when I first moved there, I was ready to go, and it's weird
Yeah.
because it was always my dream to live in New
Mm.
York, always since I was a
Mhm.
little girl, and I remember walking around the city with my mom when she was there, and I remember I said, "I don't understand it. Why did I wanna live here? What is so great about the city? What I don't get it." And now I it's the best. It's so
Yeah, of
wonderful here,
course.
so
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. But how long had you been there before you
oh,
said, "I wanna leave"? Like, was it 2 weeks or 3 months? When did you and then when did you cross the threshold
I
and just
it's
tipping point of you actually liked it?
Good question. I think it was once I got a job, I got a more because I was living in a temporary living situation just for a few months. And
Yeah.
once I signed a year-long lease, and
Yeah.
it was final sometimes it's just about I remember actually being on the corner on the Upper West Side, and I remember talking to my brother on the phone, and I was probably crying, and I remember he said to me, "No, Michelle, you can't leave. You have to stay there for at least a year."
Oh, that's good.
And
Good
and
brother.
yeah, he said, "You can't come back. You have to stay there for a year or 2." And it's true. Once you have that feeling of it's final and I'm not going to change this for a certain amount of time, you're kind of forced to get over how you're
Yes.
feeling and just make the best of it, and then you kind of just get with the groove.
Yeah, it kinda speaks to the value of committing to something fully. Not always
Yeah.
having a backup plan, not always having one foot in, one foot out. Instead, we're
Yes.
fully in, we're all
Yep.
in, or we're
Yeah.
all out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
True.
I like that. Okay, Michelle, what else? What are some other ways that we could say this? What do you think?
Okay, well, here we have the first one is I changed my mind. So that's pretty straightforward, pretty literal. So I didn't
Pretty
like
literal.
coffee, but I changed my mind. Now I have it every day. Lindsay, did you always like coffee when
I
you
think the first time I tried it, I probably wasn't crazy about it. I'm not sure who is. Maybe the smell is amazing, but the taste is pretty bitter. It's kind of an acquired taste.
Yes.
So most people I think are not crazy about it at first, but then it becomes part of your habit, part of your day. You associate it with all these other things. But this one, I changed my mind. You're right. It's pretty literal. It's pretty
Mhm.
much like I just did a right turn, a hard right or a hard left turn. It's kind of describing your change in choices more so than it
Right.
grew on me. Grew on me is more gradual, a little less literal. Right.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I remember when I first started drinking coffee, I actually drank it black. Um,
Impressive.
I I don't know why, but I don't know if I felt like I had to,
Maybe you thought
prove
you had to,
myself.
or you didn't know there was any other options. Who knows?
Um, but yeah, no, I don't do that anymore.
Wow, interesting. So you went in the other direction. I went in the opposite direction. I started drinking like lattes and then kind of went into coffee with milk and now I just drink it black. So we went in the exact
Wow.
opposite directions. So that's
Well,
interesting.
do you drink coffee for the taste or because of the function?
I think it's both now. I do
Mm,
like the taste, especially when I make it fresh at home in the morning. I like the taste, but I also like the ritual and the smell and just
mm.
settling in with a cup of
Yeah,
coffee. It's
yeah.
everything, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
definitely. Okay, so what's another one?
Okay. My taste changed, right? So I didn't like coffee, but my taste changed. Yes.
Mhm, mhm.
Mhm.
Or this one is kind of a more cutesy way of saying it. I had a change of heart, and this can be for we could do a
Yeah.
follow-up on this one. It's not just, it's also for many other things. We could do a whole episode on it, but you could use this in a little bit of a humorous way. "Oh, I didn't like coffee, but I had a change of heart when
Right.
I
So
tried it from this shop," or something.
yeah, so it would be funny. It would be kind of funny and silly if you used it here because usually change of heart is used for bigger things. Like
Uh-huh.
this person always wanted to go out with me and I just kept turning them down. And then finally one day I had a change of heart and I decided to give them a chance. That's a bigger
Yeah.
deal. Coffee
Right.
preferences a little more mundane, right?
Right. So this would be more if you're kind of being a little humorous and showing some
Yeah.
personality. You could use this, but exactly what Lindsay said. True.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. Anything else, Michelle? What else do we need to know here? When and why?
Well,
Mhm.
right. You can discuss when or why this happened, so you can add something to it. Right. I
Huh.
didn't like New York at first, but I changed my mind after a few months when I had a beautiful day in the park. Right. Somehow
Yeah.
everything felt different. So you can use this also to tell a story. It doesn't have to end there.
Oh, yeah, you can tell origin stories of things. You can say, I never planned to own my own business, but then there's a lot that you can do here to show who you are. Okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's do a role play, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right, so here we are friends getting lunch. All right, so, oh, this sandwich is amazing.
Is there eggplant? I don't like eggplant.
You know what? I didn't either, but it grew on me. Now I have it a few times a week.
Wow. All right. Well, maybe I'll try it again.
Yeah, you might change your mind.
Yeah, maybe my tastes have changed. So, how is your new boss?
Well, she's good. At first, I didn't like her, but then I had a change of heart when she took me to lunch and we had a great talk. Since then, she's been great.
That's great. Sometimes you just need that personal connection.
Definitely. Nice.
Okay.
Nice, nice. Yeah, the idea of not liking some food, like for example, I think my brother took my niece to Japan recently, but she doesn't
Oh.
eat. She's a vegetarian, and so she didn't eat fish. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how can you go to Japan and not eat fish? No, I'm
Yeah.
heartbroken. Or I studied abroad
Aw.
with someone who didn't eat cheese in Paris. I'm like, how can you go to
Ooh,
Paris and
ouch.
not eat cheese? No,
Ouch. Yeah,
you have
sometimes
to
sometimes when I travel, I make exceptions of things that I might
exactly.
not eat at home, and then I say, "Okay, the rules are out the window
That's how I
for the
feel about
trip."
travel
Yeah.
for sure. You have a license to eat anything you want when you travel, I
Yeah.
think. Uh,
I
all
love
right.
it.
So here we said, you know what? You asked about eggplant, and then I said, "Oh, well, you know what? I didn't like it either, but it grew on me." So
Yeah.
that's exactly the phrase we're teaching you guys today. Okay.
Yeah, and we might do a follow-up on you know what, because that's why I highlighted it
Mm,
because I
I
liked it.
think we should. Yeah,
Yeah.
good idea, guys. Hit follow
Yeah.
for that episode. Mhm.
Yep, and then you said, "Yeah, you might change your mind."
Right, exactly. So you're just suggesting, and then you said, yeah, maybe my tastes have changed. And you can say this in the plural, my tastes have changed. It's kind of hard to get that S in a little bit.
Tastes have changed.
Or
Tastes have changed. Yeah, this
maybe my taste has changed. You could
yeah.
say that too in the singular, right? Yeah.
You could. Maybe my taste has changed. Yeah, I think so.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then we start talking about your new boss. And you said, at first I didn't like her, but then I had a change of heart when she took me to lunch and we had a great talk. So this goes more along with
Yeah.
how it's really used, right? Your feelings have changed. eh, So change of heart is pretty appropriate here.
Yeah, that's why we said it would be funny if you used it to talk about your
About
coffee
coffee. Yeah.
preferences because it's a bigger deal
Yeah.
starting to appreciate someone's company, rather than a
Exactly.
choice of coffee. So, Michelle, what is our poll for today for our listeners to participate in
Well,
right now?
all right, guys. Well, since we talked about coffee a lot on the show today, the poll is, how do you take your coffee?
Yay.
Black, with milk or cream? Okay, with milk or cream and sugar. And the last one is with sugar, just sugar, no
I
milk or cream.
I'm super interested to hear what our results here are, Michelle, because I mean, so many cultures around the world drink coffee and take it differently.
Mm.
It could be cultural, it could be personal, your choice. I am excited to see where it breaks down. Super excited.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Me too. All right. And coming up on a future episode, we're also going to cover it's an acquired taste because
Mhm.
I was going to throw that in here because it seems so perfect, but I realized that
Yeah.
deserves its own episode. So
That
look out for
absolutely
that
does.
and
That's gonna
hit
be a fun
follow.
one. Yeah, I
Yeah, I'm
think
excited too.
we're gonna talk about some fun stuff on that episode. Takeaway here, Michelle, is what? I mean, we don't always immediately like everything, whether it's a person, an apartment, a neighborhood, a cup of coffee. It could go
Yeah.
from something as simple as food or drink to your lifelong relationship. The person you marry eventually could have grown on you. Maybe you didn't like
Right.
them at first, but they grew on
Right.
you, right?
Yeah, exactly. So this can be used to talk about so many things. It's talking about your current taste, your past. You can use it to tell a story. You can get excited to share things you have in common with the person you're talking to. So this is just a really common one that it can be used in so many different ways. So listen out for it, give it a try, and use it to connect.
All right, good stuff. All right, Michelle, I'll see you in the next episode. Have a good one.
Bye, Lindsay. Bye.
Bye.